How do you capture a high-value target when the whole world is watching? You create a masterclass in deception. The CIA set the stage with a single building as bait and filled the sky with 150 aircraft to create a deafening sonic shield for the helicopters to drop Delta forces. F-35s lit up the perimeter, turning night into day. By the time the dust settled, the helicopters had already touched down and Maduro was gone. We'll also look at how the US uses the F-35 jets and its Navy to launch a large-scale attack, all in the video ahead. In the dead of night that is 2 in the morning, the lights went out in Caracas. By 5 a.m., the president of Venezuela was gone. But how US played a deception games. While the whole world were focused on the aircraft carriers in the Caribbean, a shadow war was being fought on the ground. This wasn't an invasion, it was a surgical extraction. We finally have the declassified timeline of how US forces breached the heart of Caracas and extracted Nicolas Maduro. Let's start with step 1. The setup. This didn't happen overnight. For months, the US had been tightening a naval quarantine around Venezuela. The US Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group and the US Iwo Jima Amphibious Ready Group were parked off the coast. The pretext was clear. The US designated the Venezuelan government a narco-terrorist state, specifically targeting the drugs lords. But while the Navy squeezed the coast, intelligence assets were tracking one man. They waited for a specific window, a moment where Maduro was stationary and vulnerable. Step 2. The strike. It began at exactly 2 in the morning Venezuelan Standard Time. High above, several F-35 stealth fighters punch a hole through the enemy lines, destabilizing their anti-air defenses. Like these Russian S-300 missiles located all over the strategic high-value target. With the skies cleared, the path opens for Delta Force helicopters to fly straight towards the mission. Here comes the deception as the helicopters flew. The jets started firing with more strikes as it hit Fort Tuna, the main military base and command center, and La Carlota Air Base, destabilizing Venezuelan air support. Reports from the ground described widespread explosions and a sudden communications blackout. The chaos wasn't the goal, it was the cover. But how did the raid happen? We have to look at step 3. Under the cover of darkness and chaos, the Tier 1 operators went to work. But what is the exact unit tasked with the mission? It is the Delta Force, one of the most elite secretive special forces units in the US military. Witnesses in Caracas reported low-flying aircraft skimming the rooftops, flying well below radar coverage. The team breached a secure compound believed to be a safe house within the massive Fort Tuna complex. Resistance from the Venezuelan Presidential Guard was swift but ultimately futile, as the helicopters lay cover fire. The operators moved with surgical speed, landing on multiple points. But how exactly the capture and extraction happened? For this, let's look at step 4. Specialized helicopters hovered over the objective to insert the assault team. While dozens of attack helicopters laid down suppression fire, the Delta Special Forces descended and started the search for the high-value targets. How did they find him? Simple. The CIA had planted spy inside Nicolas Maduro close circle. While back in the US, Delta Force built an exact replica of his safe house, rehearsing the raid until they could do it blindfolded. While operators breached the room so fast, his security could not even react to the situation as the sound of flash grenades disoriented the security guard. Using blowtorch, they caught him before he could even lock all the doors. Maduro's shock and awe froze him as Delta Force reached the compound. Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, were physically secured. This wasn't a negotiation. They were detained and immediately moved to the extraction point. These aircraft are capable of performing urban extractions from buildings and refueling in midair. Within minutes, they were airborne, leaving Venezuelan airspace and heading to a secure floating staging base in the Caribbean. This Operation Southern Spear has changed the geopolitical map of South America overnight. But wait, before after the extractions, there were reports of F-35 jets also leading the tip of the spear for the attack. We'll look how the United States used F-35 jets instead of X-16s for operations in Venezuela, because this is a well-organized and militarized Venezuela has positioned advanced Russian S-300 missile systems, Chinese radar networks, integrated Russian air defenses, and Shahed drones along its borders. This creates a highly lethal and challenging environment that older S-16s would struggle to survive. As stated, around 150 aircrafts and a massive 8 U.S. destroyers were stationed there. It also has 3 amphibious aircraft carrier and surveillance plane to turn it into a massive command and control juggernaut capable of overcoming a modern military's air defenses. Signals a readiness to counter Venezuela's entire air defense network if necessary. But why Venezuela Air Force failed to intercept? As of 2025, Venezuela's fighter jet fleet consists mainly of approximately 21 Sukhoi Su-30 multirole fighters delivered by Russia between 2006 and 2008, which now form the backbone of their combat air power. Additionally, they maintain about 5 operational F-16 Fighting Falcons from an older batch, including 3 single-seat S-16As and 2 two-seat S-16Vs. These S-16s are aging and suffer from limited maintenance and part support due to U.S. sanctions, although they have been supplemented with Israeli upgrades. Venezuela acquired its F-16 jets from the United States through a foreign military sales agreement called Peace Delta in May 1982, during a period of good diplomatic and military relations. They were the first Latin American country to receive the S-16, with deliveries occurring between 1983 and 1985. The reason the U.S. does not use F-16s in current operations is because these jets lack the stealth capabilities necessary to evade the S-300 and other integrated defenses. The advanced S-300V or anti-2500 systems, supported by dense Chinese and Russian radar, can easily detect and target older aircraft at long ranges. Sending F-16s into such an environment would result in high attrition risks, as they are vulnerable to radar detection and missile engagement. Not to forget the Russian Buk air defense system that can take out an S-16 with ease. These are cheap R-15 or 24 Buk systems are already active and mobile all over the country. Additionally, F-16s are less effective in contested airspace saturated with drones, especially the Iranian Shahed drones used by Venezuela for reconnaissance and kamikaze strikes. The F-35, however, offers crucial advantages. Its stealth design enables it to fly undetected or with much lower risk, making it effective against advanced surface-to-air missiles and networked radar systems. Its sensor fusion, electronic warfare, and data link capabilities allow it to simultaneously suppress and target mobile and fixed air defense positions, adapting rapidly to counter Russian and Chinese radar configurations. While the aircrafts took out the anti-air defenses Venezuelan military as a whole, this allowed the CIA and special forces to advance towards its target. The overwhelming presence of advanced Russian, Chinese, Iranian, and indigenous air defense and drone systems on the Venezuelan border means that the stealth fighter jets, or the first wave of attack, provide both the survivability and strike capability required for such operations. But how do they rotate clockwise? Well, the distance from Puerto Rico to Venezuela is about 1,300 kilometers. This is roughly 810 miles, which translates to around 1.5 hours of flight time for an F-35 flying at high subsonic speeds. These jets rotated clockwise as its combat radius is approximately 770 miles, meaning it can reach most of Venezuela from Puerto Rico with careful fuel management and limited loitering. To extend mission time and reach deeper inland, air-to-air refueling tankers deployed strategically in the Caribbean region support these operations. In situations requiring strikes within minutes, U.S. amphibious assault ships equipped with F-35Bs can launch jets rapidly. From such ships positioned in the Caribbean, F-35Bs can reach Venezuelan targets within roughly 15 to 10 minutes, depending on speed and route. Targets typically include narco-traffickers' networks, air defense installations, command centers, and drone facilities, enabling flexible sea-based strike options against both Venezuelan military and criminal infrastructure. In essence, the F-35 deployment by the U.S. near Venezuela redefines military capabilities in the region. It combines stealth, advanced sensors, electronic warfare, and networked operations to overcome sophisticated air defenses and maintain persistent air superiority and rapid strikeability against a broad spectrum of targets in Venezuela. This reflects a strategy that goes beyond counter-narcotics to deter and, if necessary, decisively counter the Venezuelan military threat. We also made a deep dive into the sea, air, and land components of the nuclear triad, so subscribe for more videos to not miss a beat.